Sir.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. And so, revisiting the case we began the show with, because it's going to be used as the next cause celeb for the open borders, sanctuary city and state Pauls for as long as they can get some political capital out of it. Talking about this apprehension by ICE yesterday of a woman from Colombia who apparently is a teacher, who may or may not have a work permit. That's unclear, but it doesn't sound like it according to DHS. So ICE identifies her. They pursue her. She and a man in the car flee ICE. Then she runs into a daycare center. ICE follows and apprehends her. The allegation is that, this according to DHS, she is undocumented, and she also paid someone to illegally smuggle her sons into this country.
DHS maintains that teacher, who's from Colombia, is undocumented and alleged that she paid people to bring her two teenage children into the country illegally. DHS says agents tried to stop her in her car, but the male driver refused to pull the vehicle over, and they ran into a daycare and attempted to barricade themselves inside.
And whether or not they barricaded themselves is in dispute, but it's also somewhat irrelevant, because the statements made by Delia Ramirez, she's a congresswoman, Matt Martin, he's an older human.
We had masked ICE agents following a daycare educator into the daycare where there were parents, there were children.
Maria, well, that's true, but Maria Guzman, who's a parent, I guess, has a kid at that daycare center.
There is a sign at the door that says this is a business and a private place. They illegally pushed their way into the building. There was no barricading.
Yeah, whether it's barricading or not is, as I said, irrelevant, of course. Delia Ramirez, the congresswoman. Just so we're clear, ICE went into a daycare center, private business, without a judicial warrant, and unlawfully kidnapped a worker in front of parents and children. Our taxpayer dollars are being used to violate our rights, terrorize our residents, and frighten our kids, and so forth. So, the legal illiteracy of our betters in public office and their flacks. So she resisted arrest by fleeing into the daycare center. See if we can follow the logic. Share it with a friend. Law enforcement obviously may enter private property in fresh pursuit of a suspect. The suggestion to the contrary would make all private property an immediate sanctuary for all suspects, foreign and domestic, which, of course, is patently absurd. I would be embarrassed for Delia Ramirez, but what is the point when one wallows in ignorance as she does, and so many of her fellow travelers do too, in public office and outside of it? The congresswoman used to be on the Little Rascals there, Froggy, Mike Quigley.
This woman is a trusted, loved member of her community with a work permit.
Well, again, that work permit question is one that is in controversy. And the other part is the loved, respected, or loved and trusted member of the community. Okay, maybe she is. So then the law doesn't apply to her? We need to do a better job of getting all the facts out faster. We also need to do another better job of just say, look, I don't have anything against this Colombian teacher. I don't know her. And so whatever you say about her, I'm sure she's a lovely woman. Fine. So is she above the law then? The laws don't apply to people that you like, and then we invent laws to prosecute people you don't like? Is that how we're going to order society? What the hell is wrong with you? More of those conversations need to happen, rather than this sort of mealy-mouthed pandering to the worst elements in political office. And I'm talking about some on the so-called center right, too. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Ron Vitiello, Senior Advisor for DHS and CBP Office of the Commissioner, former Chief of U.S. Border Patrol and Deputy Commissioner, and retired Acting Director of ICE. So he's a seasoned hand on this stuff. Ron, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Dan, it's good to be on with you.
So, I don't know if you know any more of the details on this daycare case than I provided, but I tell you, one frustration I have with DHS right now is, Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago is been nationalized, by both sides, frankly, but it's certainly being nationalized by the left to demonize ICE. And it's bringing in all sorts of political resources from the left to create as much chaos here as possible and make the job of ICE officers as difficult and frankly dangerous as possible. And I don't think actually we're getting very good, timely, comprehensive information from DHS, starting with Tricia McLaughlin. She takes the time to issue statements to these network affiliate newscasts that run these stilted propagandist characterizations of incidents like this daycare center one that I was just talking about, and it's sort of then we're sort of in a vacuum because we get the statement, we don't get any more color, we don't get any response, we don't get the more detailed argument that's made about what exactly is going on. We've had more than 1,000 people arrested as part of Operation Midway Blitz. I'm looking and I have trouble getting this information from DHS in terms of thumbnail profiles and all the people that have been arrested and their backgrounds that we can disseminate. So on the one hand, I'm sickened by the political ruling class in Chicago and Illinois for obvious reasons. On the other hand, I'm incredibly frustrated with DHS too.
Yeah, Dan, I think that's a fair assessment. We're always up against, the mainstream media and people who want to, try to control the narrative and pretend that people are in the country illegally, don't deserve to be arrested and shouldn't be removed. And you've got politicians like Brandon Johnson, like Pritzker, who are saying that they don't want anybody deported. Let's just face it. They don't want anyone removed from the United States, despite the fact over the previous 4 years of the Biden administration, upwards of 22 million people were allowed to come into the United States and are all over the country in a city and a town near you. And so that's what's controlling this narrative. And there is a fact sheet out on DHS.gov, but I take your point. We could and should be better at putting the data out about the number of arrests, the type of people. I can tell you that was a targeted enforcement operation. The people that ICE is targeting are people who have done terrible things to the citizens of Chicagoland. They've been arrested. Some of them have been convicted, and then they were released by Illinois authorities because of the sanctuary status that Illinois and Cook County and other places want to have and love to have and are bragging about on television, the flouting of federal law, if you will. And it puts us all at danger.
Yeah, no, I know. But and we talk about, Katie Abraham, the inspiration for Operation Midway Blitz. We talked to her father. We talk about going back a decade, the cases of Denny McCann, whose killer was released by Tony Preckwinkle more than a decade ago in Chicago. It's been going on for a long time here. And so many other cases. But we want, you need the real time information to explain to people this is a proportional response and this is not your huddled masses yearning to breathe free that the politicians want you to believe. So I see Tricia McLaughlin talking and all these guys go on Fox News to talk about 2 million deportations, 1.5 million self-deports, and 500,000 to 600,000 actual apprehensions and deportations. And that's all well and good, but it's sort of like this, the Stalinist observation that, one person's death is a tragedy, a million's is a statistic. And so you have to tell the individual stories on a fresh daily basis of like, this is what happened today. And when they argue in court that ICE conditions at the Broadview facility are not up to federal standards or inhumane, and all the controversies surrounded the raid on the South Shore apartment building, we're just not getting enough response from law enforcement. And also, I got to say, I'm a little frustrated too that we're not seeing a little bit more activity for to organize law enforcement, to stand for law enforcement. These ICE officers I just get characterized as domestic terrorists and racists and all this stuff, and there's really no response to it other than from a few people talking on the radio and on podcasts like myself. And I mean, that can't go unchallenged either. There needs to be, like, the response is not equal to the political efforts of the open borders left on this.
I agree with you. But the men and women out there on the front line, both at our southwest border, other borders in the U.S., and the people that are working with ICE and CBP in Chicago are dedicated to protecting the American people. They swore an oath to protect us, and unfortunately, they have to deal with this activism that is dressed up in judges' robes. These activists that are elected politicians in the Chicagoland area that want the rest of Chicago to believe that being in the country illegally is not a crime. It is a federal crime. We're doing the best that we can as it relates to finding these people and targeting them, like in this particular case. This lady engaged in a conspiracy with the cartels to bring her children into the United States. It wasn't enough for her to be here on the Chicago economy and try to make a better life for herself, albeit illegally. That wasn't enough. She had to smuggle her family in the United States. And so she came up on the radar because she engaged in that conspiracy. We don't know whether those kids are trafficked or not, but that's what she engaged in. She paid smugglers to bring children in the United States that she said were hers. That's how she got on the radar. That's how she became a target. And everything that happened after her failure to stop the car on the roadway lays at her feet, and it is not the problem or the fault of frontline agents who were trying to take her into custody for the criminal behavior that she engaged in.
So that's a new point of information. So this was cartel related. She engaged members of a drug cartel in Colombia.
All smuggling into the United States is controlled by cartels, both at the Mexican border and in the pipeline in a place like Colombia, where it could be Tren de Aragua, it could be other factions of criminal terrorist organizations who use people, smuggle and engage in human trafficking. And this is what she did to get on the radar in that area.
Interesting. Okay, well, that's good to know. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we need to know. Exactly. This is why we have you on. I wanted to get your reaction to something else too. These federal judges, they're aiding and abetting a lot of the demonization here too. Federal judge ordering the Broadview facility to improve conditions. Inhumane conditions is the accusation, saying there is a lack of clean bedding, sufficient space to sleep, soap, towels, toilet paper, toothbrushes, and so on and so forth. People should be sleeping on top of one another. That's what U.S. District Judge Robert Gettleman said. And so, I mean, you get these sort of suits all the time from U.S. citizens who are prisoners. I need to play, pickleball at least 3 hours a day, and I'm not allowed. But I mean so what's going on at these ICE facilities? Because we've talked to others who suggest that some of these ICE facilities have soccer fields and all kinds of amenities. But this judge is making headlines in Chicago because of how he characterized what's happening in Broadview.
No, these facilities are designed to hold people during the time that they're going through deportation proceedings or waiting for a removal flight. They're well appointed. They're run by citizens and individuals, men and women of the front line who again take an oath to protect us. And these judges are way out of control. They're trying to tell law enforcement what tactics they can use, what equipment they must or must not have, what warnings they can give to people who are breaking the law and interfering with legal arrests. It's totally out of control. And this is just another example of where these judges believe that they are smarter than the executive branch, that they're smarter than frontline law enforcement agents, that they're smarter than the president in the executive branch that is charged with enforcing these laws in the United States. It's totally out of control. I wish there was a quick remedy to it, but the Justice Department is fighting on our behalf to make sure that law enforcement in the executive branch has the tools and uses the tools to make us safe. And this is just another example where they've overstepped, their check and balance.
And all these allegations about, you were sort of referencing it, the illegal use of tear gas or pepper balls or other crowd disbursement tactics, the illegal use of a maneuver to stop a vehicle that is fleeing. Have any ICE agents been indicted anywhere in the country for abuse, for essentially abusive behavior or any other crimes that you're aware of?
No, that's absolutely not the case, right? These men and women on the front line are doing the job that we're asking them to do. It is required to be done, and these judges are out of control with these kinds of restrictions. And let me just tell the people of the Chicagoland area, if you get in the way of lawful law enforcement activity and you put hands on an ICE agent or a Border Patrol agent or a CBP officer who is out there trying to do the job that we've assigned them to do, you will be arrested for impeding. You will be arrested for assault if you put hands on an officer in uniform. So that's what's happening in these cases. When you try to confront lawful activity by law enforcement agencies and you try to prevent the arrests of people who are in the country illegally, you will go to jail, and we will use the tactics. Less lethal munitions. We will use handcuffs. We will use zip ties. We will use physical activity to take you into custody for the illegal activity that you're engaging in by trying to let people who are in the country illegally escape lawful arrest.
One other matter, just because it continues to be asserted, so we have to continue addressing it, that there's not due process being given. People are being disappeared. You heard the term kidnapped. And the what actually happens when an ICE officer apprehends somebody on the list and moves them through the system? What actually happens?
This is absolutely irresponsible activity by these elected officials. There's no such thing as a law enforcement officer kidnapping somebody who is in the country illegally, has been ordered by a judge in immigration court to be removed, or has been convicted of crimes in the United States, thereby making them deportable, and so we're trying to take them into custody. The process that exists is the process. And these people that are in Congress, the governor and the mayor, they know full well that the apparatus that runs immigration enforcement, both the line arrests, immigration courts, and detention that's funded in the United States, is funded by the United States Congress. And for them to suggest that this is unlawful activity like kidnapping or disappearing people is complete irresponsible rhetoric. It deserves to be condemned at every level, and it is increasing the height of irresponsibility by these feckless politicians who would rather get headlines, clicks, and likes on Instagram instead of doing their job. If they want to reform what's going on in the streets of Chicago, Governor Pritzker could easily ask the state legislature to reinstate the policy that when someone is arrested in Illinois who has been born in a foreign country that has illegal or legal status in the United States and gets convicted of a crime that makes them deportable, they can pick up the phone and honor the detainer that ICE will file on them and take those people into custody in the lobby of a jail. They don't have to be on the streets. They don't have to stop cars. They don't have to confront people at their homes or at their businesses. The governor could have that in minutes if he wants that to happen. But he won't do that because he wants the clicks, the likes, and the irresponsible rhetoric to go downrange because his leftist base demands it from him.
Ron Vitiello, Senior Advisor for DHS CBP Office of the Commissioner, former Chief of U.S. Border Patrol and Deputy Commissioner and retired Acting Director of ICE. Ron Vitiello, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
And you join us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I've been screwing up all the chores at home.
Hey, we all make mistakes.
But darn it, my wife still isn't mad at me.
You want her to be mad?
Yeah, so I can sleep on the James sofa from Penny Mustard.
With the extra deep seats.
And ultra high density foam cushions.
You're messing up on purpose so you can sleep on the James sofa?
I gotta admit,